morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 17th day of August 2022. Well, right now in Brisbane, where we are streaming from, is 14 degrees and sunny, and it is a beautiful day out there, looking gorgeous from where we are in this studio. Well, today we have lots of local news, and then we will, of course, be finishing off with the Daily India report, and then looking at some of the functions and events taking place right here in Brisbane. And then, of course, we have a very special real estate update today at 10 a.m., where we saw a collaboration between GlobeNet Realty and Golden Key Realty. Well, right now, let's get into the news. Here's the update for the headlines.
There's growing backlash to Scott Morrison's secret ministerial appointments this morning, with questions about whether he undermined Australia's constitution. The former Prime Minister apologised to his colleagues yesterday, but unrest is still simmering within the coalition over Mr Morrison's 5 secret jobs, with calls for him to resign. Labor has promised to investigate exactly how the silent ministry of one came about.
This is mind-boggling stuff. Crazy stuff. It's wrong in principle that the former Prime Minister did this at all. I think it's made worse by the cover-up.
Australia could face another summer of heavy rain and floods as the chance of a third consecutive La Nina event increases. The Bureau of Meteorology has moved from La Nina Watch to La Nina Alert, with the likelihood rising that La Nina will return either this spring to early summer. The past 2 summers of La Nina have led to heavy flooding, of course, in northern New South Wales and Queensland.
An independent report estimates that 46,000 Sydney residents could fail to evacuate if conditions comparable to this year's devastating floods in New South Wales strike again. The findings of the long-awaited inquiry are set to be released today, proposing the creation of a new body to oversee the rebuilding of housing and infrastructure in affected areas.
And the Humble Compact Disc is celebrating its 40th anniversary today. The 17th of August 1982 marked the start of decades of disc sales, with the first commercial CD produced in Germany. It happened to be ABBA's.
Well, if you think that the CDs, I'll try and look at cassettes and LPs and the reels. So anyway, wonderful days of recording. Right now, for our next news, we go to the aging Daylesford Hospital and look at the report there as we feel that pain.
On the front line inside Daylesford Hospital, Nurse Bernie is helping Pete get life-saving kidney treatment.
We call him our cyborg at the moment.
The dialysis ward is one of the smallest in the state, and nurses are crying out for more beds.
We can only dialyse 3 patients at a time.
Demand in urgent care has increased by nearly 20% in a year, but there's only room for 2 patients.
Are you allergic to anything you know of?
The 160-year-old Daylesford Hospital hasn't had a proper upgrade in more than 2 decades, despite the town's population booming during the pandemic.
Our residents are sick of being neglected.
Some services like maternity can no longer be provided, and beds are going unused because of outdated equipment.
People in the country are used to making do, and this hospital's been making do now for 20 years with substandard facilities.
The community's so desperate for a new health precinct, it's raised $100,000 on its own to fund a master plan, but getting it built will cost around $75 million.
We see health being a priority for both the Liberal and the Labor Party, but people in this area, in Daylesford, have missed out.
The Premier says the hospital can apply for a grant, but neither he nor the opposition's committed funding.
Daylesford's in the new Health Minister's safe Labor seat of Macedon. But just down the road in the marginal seat of Ripon, the government's spending more than $100 million to build a new hospital for Maryborough.
So why them and not us?
We can't make do any longer.
For now, many residents are travelling to Ballarat and Melbourne for basic health care. Bridget Rollison, ABC News.
Now, look at the condition, and if you can see from the top, all the mildew and everything that's been forming around, so it is in a great neglect. And of course, when we're looking at Australia and where health is on the top priority and it has got bipartisan support, something really needs to be done. Well, right now, the next news item that we're going to discuss is the worsening air pollution in Darwin. when we talk about air pollution, the first city that comes to mind, unfortunately, is Delhi, where the pollution levels have always been very, very high. First, number one, because of its inland, where it is so far away from the sea, so the air is more stagnant, it does not get blown away. But Darwin, why would it be happening there?
The dry season is often called breathtaking. Perhaps it really is.
In the Northern Territory, we get a lot of calls this time of year, particularly with our controlled burns and the poor air quality, and this is where a lot of people notice the effects.
Asthma NT says it's the busiest time for new presentations of respiratory illness.
We often see a lot of people that have moved to the Territory who say they haven't experienced a dry season, and they're saying, our asthma was really well controlled moving to the Territory, but since the dry season's hit, since the burn off has started, they've noticed an increase in symptoms.
New research suggests our air quality is getting worse and that more burning, particularly in June and July, is to blame.
What we found was actually a worrying trend of worsening air quality, particularly in the last sort of 5 or 6 years. And the overwhelming source of air pollution for Darwin is the surrounding fires in the savannas.
Researchers acknowledge the landscape still needs to be burned, but suggest the regularity and time of year need to change.
I would find it.
Well, of course, when you look at that, something which I have mentioned many times before, that once you start meddling with nature, there will be consequences. So you're trying to save the forest with that back burning and trying to control a fire outbreak, but then when you're even doing the controlled burning, it is fire, and that also polluting the environment. It has the consequences which we face. So nevertheless, you will never win because you're fighting with nature. So whatever you do will have some other unintended consequences, and that is what I have always said, and I've always maintained. That debate that goes on about climate change as well. There's so much that you have to look beyond. Yes, cleanliness, health, safety, they do come to mind, but of course there are things beyond our control. The way the world is today, it's evolved. Well, humankind has a little bit to do with it as well on the way it is now, but of course nature played its part as well. Volcanic eruptions, rains and other things as well. So many things are beyond our control, and once we start meddling with nature or you obstruct or divert the natural causes, you will have unintended consequences. I rest my case. Right now for the next news, we go to Fremantle.
Do you want to know a secret that Richard and Bonnie?
Travis Adams' pain and anger is still raw.
As he locked me down on the ground and he took advantage of me as a kid.
He was 10 when he first met Father Damien Barker, the Carmelite chaplain at Fremantle's Christian Brothers Junior College in 1983. Something didn't feel right.
He's kissing that kid on the lips in this playground.
But Mr. Adams says Father Damien's behaviour never seemed to be questioned.
He's the messenger of Christ.
By the time he was 11, Father Damien was allegedly sexually abusing him in a small lockable room set up as a confessional between classrooms. The junior school's been demolished.
I don't like it here. Not good here, that's for sure.
But he remembers boys filing into the confessional to admit their sins.
His face goes red, and then it's like a different man's in the room. You lock the door, and now it's... do as you're told.
He claims Father Damien's abuse occurred just metres from busy classrooms.
Bad.
The abuse also alleged...
And, this is one of the many cases that have been reported, shocking news, but these things have happened and behind closed doors. And as he mentioned there, that he is the messenger of God. What did he do? Once again, humans and their emotions. Another shocking news is this one, the mother charged with attempted murder.
2 little boys left fighting for their lives, their mother in custody, after an unimaginable act of violence on the side of Adelaide's elevated freeway.
Quite frankly, it was horrific.
Police allege Megan Jane Somerville pulled the family car over on the South Road Superway, got out with her 2 young sons and stabbed them multiple times.
We don't know what triggered the episode. We don't know at this point in time where she was going or what she was doing.
If the allegations are proven to be true, God knows what circumstances have led to this absolute tragedy.
Police say a brave motorist jumped to the boys' aid, snatching the knife off their 35-year-old mother. Other Good Samaritans then stepped in to help him detain the woman and call police.
If this man hadn't stopped, I'm sure the situation would have been much worse. We're very grateful that he stopped.
The critically injured children are now stable and expected to recover. While the youngest was in surgery, Miss Somerville faced the Port Adelaide Magistrates Court from her hospital bed, charged with attempted murder. Her lawyer told the court mental health would be a factor in the case when it returns in December. Megan Somerville was
mental health, and of course it is quite disturbing when you look at news like that. What actually led to that is, as the police department has also mentioned, would be interesting to see, to find out what really happened, what pushes people to that point, to that limit. Of course, we know those kind of actions can never be excused, but of course what we need to look at the root is the root cause. Why did it happen in the first place? What propelled that? So what fueled it? What led up to it? Because people have different ways of dealing with things. Some people just get too emotional. So what was that trigger that got her to that point is what really needs to be found, and that really needs to be addressed. Right now, let's go to Perth and take a look at the airport rally.
Look at that! Look at that! Get that off.
Light at the end of the tunnel. An official opening date for the airport line.
Wow.
These drivers are undergoing training ahead of the opening of the line on October 9.
This is a project that, as you can see, will completely change the way we travel in WA.
It's expected 20,000 passengers will travel on the line each day, with the new airport station offering a grand welcome. At a whopping 35 metres, these escalators are the biggest in the Southern Hemisphere. And while these escalators might be really long, they might not hold that record for long, with New South Wales apparently working on a set that are even bigger in Sydney. The project began in 2016, and a series of issues have seen its opening date repeatedly delayed. The opposition says they'll believe the latest one when they see it.
This is the fourth apparent opening time that has been set aside for the Forestfield Airport link. We'll be relieved when it actually does happen.
All good things come to those who wait, and this will be an amazing piece of public transport infrastructure that will serve the needs of the state for decades to come.
People will have to wait even longer for other parts of Metronet, with workforce and supply chain issues delaying the 18-month shutdown and transformation of the Armidale line until late 2023, which has pushed back the opening of the Byford Rail extension and Thornley-Coburn link to 2025.
So nothing ever changes. As we know, any project most of the times always cost more than they have been estimated, and they always take longer than the estimated times, because once again things are beyond our control. Well, right now let's go to the remote areas and of course look at what's happening for the housing in the remote areas.
For Teresa and her family, making it to payday is a struggle.
We live by fortnight to fortnight. Like we pay rent, we buy food, we pay for power.
Teresa currently pays $78 a fortnight for her 4-bedroom house, which she lives in by herself. But Teresa and other residents of the small community of Bellewen have now been told that as of next month, rent will be calculated on the number of bedrooms and not as a percentage of income.
Now this new thing come in, my rent going to go up to $560.
Territory Housing says a short-term safety net will be applied for people like Teresa, but could not say how tenants could have it applied or for how long it would last.
We're not sure what's going on. We hear bits and pieces, but we need to hear from Territory Housing themselves.
Teresa's brother Les is the head of his household, but says the new head tenant model won't be possible without proper consultation.
No, it's not going to work that way. They need to sit and talk to all of us in the house.
The Department of Housing says the reforms will simplify rental payments and reduce administrative costs. But here in Bellewain, where average income is around $690 a week, just how simple life will be with the reforms remains to be seen.
And remains to be seen, but of course we look at the remote areas and the housing. We look, of all the basic needs, housing very, very important as well in today's day and age. Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now it's time to go to our daily India report. As we know that after that we will have our upcoming events, and at 10 a.m. a very, very special real estate update with Usha Chandra.
Welcome to the Daily India Report that brings you reports, interviews, features and more on India and the Indian diaspora. Indian Ministry of External Affairs announced on August 15th that India had gifted a Dornier maritime reconnaissance aircraft to Sri Lanka just ahead of the docking of a high-tech Chinese missile and satellite tracking ship. India gifted a Dornier maritime reconnaissance aircraft to Sri Lanka on August 15th to strengthen the maritime security of the neighbouring country. The aircraft was handed over at a ceremony that took place on a day when India celebrated its 76th Independence Day. This comes a day before a high-tech Chinese missile and satellite tracking ship docks at the island nation's strategic Hambantota port. Vice Chief of Indian Navy, Vice Admiral S.N. Ghormade, handed over the aircraft to the Sri Lankan Navy at the Sri Lanka Air Force Base in Katunayake, adjoining the Colombo International Airport. The aircraft will enable the island nation to tackle multiple challenges like human and drug trafficking, smuggling and other organized forms of crime in its coastal waters more effectively. India has voiced concern on the alleged Chinese spy ship that arrived at a Sri Lankan port on August 16th. Indian authorities claim that they are concerned about the ship's snooping abilities. Indian authorities have concerns about a Chinese ship with abilities to track satellites and intercontinental missiles that docked at Sri Lanka's Hambantota port on August 16th morning. Harbour Master Captain Nirmal De Silva said that the Chinese ship arrived at the Sri Lankan port at around 8:40 a.m. The ballistic missile and satellite tracking ship One Wang 5 was allowed to dock at the Hambantota port on the condition that it will not carry out any research while in Sri Lankan waters. New Delhi is concerned about the possibility of the ship's tracking systems attempting to snoop on Indian installations. Sri Lanka, which had earlier asked China to postpone the visit of the high-tech ship, cleared it for docking on Saturday. Last week, External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Arindam Bagchi said that India will make the best judgment about its security interest and take into account the prevailing situation in the region, especially in border areas. The Indian state of Bihar is going through massive changes in its political landscape after Chief Minister Nitish Kumar broke off an alliance with the Bharatiya Janata Party. Nitish has created an unwieldy and opportunistic alliance with parties, RJD of former Chief Minister Lalu Prasad Yadav and the Congress. The cabinet expansion by Chief Minister Nitish Kumar came after squabbles, bickering and bargaining for portfolios by alliance partners and even individual leaders. Nitish's former alliance partner, the BJP that rules the centre, is in a huddle to chalk out the future courses of action. Nitish broke off the alliance twice in the past 8 years. The BJP will be arranging a meeting on August 16th with all core committee members helmed by Party National President JP Nadda in the national capital at its headquarters. Nadda is likely to reorganize, introspect and discuss the upheaval of the party ahead of state assembly elections. The Nitish-led Mahagathbandhan or the Grand Alliance has the support of 164 members in the assembly, including some fringe parties. The Indian Meteorological Department has predicted heavy rainfall for central India and the west coast after a formation of low pressure area. Locals have been warned of waterlogging in low-lying areas. The IMD has warned of heavy rainfall of more than 200 mm in the next 3 to 4 days in central India and the west coast, which could lead to flash floods at several locations. A low-pressure area was formed under the influence of a cyclonic circulation over northwest Bay of Bengal and its neighbourhood off the coast of Odisha and West Bengal on the evening of 13th August. The IMD has predicted that the depression is likely to intensify and move west-northwestwards across Odisha and Chhattisgarh states. Forecasters have also warned locals of waterlogging in low-lying areas. IMD also said that rainfall will lessen over Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and Gangetic West Bengal states since the depression is expected to move over Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh and Gujarat states. Tributes pour in for former Indian Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee on his death anniversary. On this day in 2018, the veteran BJP leader passed away at the age of 93. On the death anniversary of former Indian Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, political leaders across party lines paid floral tributes. President Draupadi Murmu, Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and a host of other dignitaries paid tributes to the former Prime Minister on his 4th death anniversary. They were joined by several union ministers and other leaders, including Home Minister Amit Shah and BJP President JP Nadda at Sadaiv Atal, Vajpayee's memorial in the national capital. They also attended a prayer meeting in the memory of the BJP stalwart who was crucial to the party's rise to power in the second half of the 1990s. His amiable personality and cross-party relations brought many allies and helped him form a winning coalition. Vajpayee remained Prime Minister for 6 years between 1998 to 2004. He is also a recipient of the prestigious Bharat Ratna. SoftBank-backed cab aggregator Ola will be launching their first electric car by 2024. This announcement was made by the CEO on the Independence Day. On the occasion of India's 75th Independence Day, Ola Electric announced its much-hyped electric car during a live stream. Ola Electric founder and CEO Bhavish Agarwal revealed that the company would launch a made-in-India electric car in 2024 with a range of 500 kilometers. While Ola Electric refrained from revealing too many details, the company did claim that its first car will be able to go from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just 4 seconds. Agarwal announced plans to develop what he called a full EV hub by expanding the company's future factory in Tamil Nadu state. Ola is currently focused on the production of two-wheel electric vehicles at the factory. At full scale, he said the extended facility would produce 1 million cars, 10 million two-wheelers and 100 gigawatt hours of cells each year. The teaser of Rocket Boy Season 2 series is out. The series is set to premiere either end of this year or early next year. Starring actor Jim Sharp, the series chronicles India's journey to becoming a nuclear power. After the tremendous hit of the first season of the OTT show Rocket Boys, the series will now return with Season 2. A teaser for the same was shared by Sony Live on Independence Day. The series focuses on the journey of India becoming a nuclear power, with Jim Sharp and Ishwak Singh playing Dr. Homi Bhabha and Dr. Vikram Sarabhai. The first season of Rocket Boys premiered in February 2022. The second season might premiere at the end of 2022 or early 2023. The teaser shared by Sony Live is 45 seconds long and focuses on the Pokhran nuclear test. The Pokhran test established India as a nuclear power. Created by Nikhil Advani, Roy Kapoor Films and MA Entertainment, Rocket Boys is produced by Siddharth Roy Kapoor, Monisha Advani and Madhu Bhojwani and Nikhil Advani. It is directed by Abhay Pannu. The show also features Regina Cassandra, Rajat Kapoor, Debyendu Bhattacharya and Saba Azad in pivotal roles.
You'll have many more such days to come, Rocket Boy.
Bollywood actor Ishan Khattar shared on his social media the teaser of his upcoming film Pippa, based on the 1971 war to liberate Bangladesh. He plays the role of Brigadier Balram Singh Mehta, who fought to liberate Bangladesh.
कुछ ही घंटों पहले पाकिस्तान ने भारतीय एयरफील्ड्स पर हवाई हमला किया है।
And ladies and gentlemen, that's about all we have for you in this segment. Well, but before we finish off, let's take a look at the functions and events taking place right here. And ladies and gentlemen, that's about all we have for you in this segment. Don't forget that our next segment will be the real estate update with Usha Chandra, and today we'll also be featuring the partnership between GlobeNet Realty and Golden Key Realty. So keep up to date at 10 a.m. Until then, it's goodbye from us.